The Man Who Knew Tomorrow. In a quiet town called Silverwood, people lived peaceful lives. The streets were clean, the houses were small but beautiful, and everyone knew each other. Nothing unusual ever happened there. Every morning people went to work, children went to school, and shopkeepers opened their stores. Among those shopkeepers was a young man named Rohan. Rohan owned a small coffee shop near the town square. It was not very big, but people loved coming there. The coffee smelled wonderful, and the place always felt warm and friendly. Rohan liked talking to his customers. He listened to their stories, their problems, and their dreams. One rainy afternoon, something strange happened. A man entered the coffee shop. Rohan had never seen him before. The man looked about 50 years old. He wore a long dark coat and carried an old leather bag. His eyes were calm but very sharp. He walked slowly to the counter and sat down. "Coffee," he said quietly. Rohan nodded and prepared a cup. When he placed the cup on the table, the man suddenly said something strange. "You should close the shop early today." Rohan looked at him in surprise. "Why?" he asked. The man took a slow sip of coffee. "Because something will happen here at 6 o'clock." Rohan laughed. "What kind of thing?" The man looked at the clock on the wall. "It will rain very heavily. The electricity will stop, and a car will crash into the street light outside your shop." Rohan stared at him. "That sounds like a movie." The man did not smile. "It is not a movie," he said calmly. "It is tomorrow's memory." Rohan frowned. "What do you mean?" But the man did not answer. He finished his coffee, paid the bill, and stood up. Before leaving, he said one more thing. "Be careful at 6. Then he walked out of the shop. Rohan shook his head and continued working. He thought the man was probably joking. The day continued normally. People came and went. The rain outside became heavier. At 5:45, Rohan suddenly remembered the man's words. He looked at the clock. 6 o'clock, he whispered. Outside, thunder roared in the sky. The rain became stronger. At exactly 6 o'clock, the lights in the coffee shop suddenly went out. The electricity had stopped. Rohan's heart started beating faster. At the same moment, he heard a loud crash outside. Boom! Rohan ran to the door and looked outside. A car had crashed into the street light exactly where the man had said. Rohan felt a chill run down his spine. How did he know? He whispered. The next morning, the strange man returned. He walked into the coffee shop like nothing had happened. Rohan quickly walked toward him. "You knew about the accident," Rohan said. The man nodded. "Yes." "How?" Rohan asked. The man looked at him carefully. "Because I remember tomorrow." Rohan blinked. "That makes no sense." The man opened his leather bag and took out a small notebook. It looked old and worn. "This notebook contains tomorrow," he said. Rohan leaned closer. Inside the notebook were many pages filled with writing. Times, places, events. "Are these predictions?" Rohan asked. The man shook his head. "No, they are memories." Rohan stared at him. "Memories of the future." The man nodded slowly. "My name is Arav," he said. "And every night I remember the next day." Rohan could not believe what he was hearing. "That is impossible." Arav smiled slightly. "Yes," he said. "But it is true." He turned one page in the notebook. "Today at 4 o'clock," he said quietly, "something strange will happen in this shop." Rohan crossed his arms. "What?" Arav looked at the page. "A woman will enter the shop." "So?" Rohan said. "She will ask you a question." "What question?" Arav closed the notebook. "That is the problem," he said. "I cannot see the answer." Rohan frowned. "What do you mean?" Arav looked directly into his eyes. "After that moment, the future becomes unclear." Rohan felt nervous. "What happens then?" Arav spoke slowly. "That depends on you." The clock on the wall ticked loudly. 3 hours later, the shop door opened. A young woman walked inside. She looked worried. Her clothes were wet from the rain. She walked directly to Rohan. "Excuse me," she said. "Yes?" Rohan replied. She looked around nervously. Then she asked the question. "Did a man with a leather bag come here today?" Rohan froze. Arav quietly watched from his table. "Yes," Rohan said slowly. The woman looked relieved. "Where is he?" Rohan pointed toward the table. But when the woman turned around, the chair was empty. Arav had disappeared. The woman looked confused. "Where did he go?" Rohan looked around the shop. The door was still closed. The windows were locked. But Arav was gone. On the table, the notebook remained. Rohan slowly picked it up. The last page was blank. Then something strange happened. Words slowly began appearing on the page, as if an invisible hand was writing. Rohan read the sentence. "The future has changed." The woman stepped closer. "What does it say?" Rohan swallowed. "It says the future has changed." The woman's face became pale. "That means he saw something dangerous." Rohan looked at her. "You know him?" She nodded. "Yes." "Who is he?" Rohan asked. She took a deep breath. "He is my father." Rohan stared at her. "Your father?" "Yes," she said quietly. "And if the future changed, it means something worse is coming." At that moment, the lights flickered again. Thunder echoed outside. Rohan looked down at the notebook. A second sentence appeared. "The storm is only the beginning." Rohan felt a cold fear in his chest. Because somewhere in the town, A man was already remembering tomorrow again.